My name is Robert, and I am a farmer. My farm sits on the edge of a small village, surrounded by rolling hills and fields that stretch as far as the eye can see. Every morning, I wake up before sunrise to the sound of roosters crowing and the soft rustling of leaves in the wind. The air smells fresh, like earth and grass, and it fills me with a sense of peace. Farming isn't just my job, it's my life. It's hard work, but it's also rewarding in ways that words can't fully explain. When I step outside, the first thing I do is check on the animals. My cows are usually the first to greet me, mooing softly as they wait for their morning feed. Then there are the chickens, clucking and pecking at the ground, and my faithful dog, Max, who follows me everywhere. Max is more than just a pet, he's my companion, always ready to help herd the sheep or simply keep me company when the days feel long. After feeding the animals, I head to the fields. This time of year, the wheat is golden and ready for harvest. The sun rises slowly over the hills, casting a warm glow across the land. I love this moment, the quiet before the day begins, when everything feels still and perfect. But soon enough, the tractor starts rumbling, and the rhythm of work takes over. One day, as I was plowing a new section of the field, I noticed something unusual sticking out of the soil. At first, I thought it was just a rock, but when I got closer, I realized it was an old tin box. Curious, I opened it carefully. Inside, I found a bundle of letters tied with a faded ribbon. They were written in neat handwriting, dated nearly 100 years ago. The letters spoke of love, longing, and dreams of a better future. It seemed they belonged to someone who had once lived on this land, a farmer like me, perhaps. I took the letters home and spent the evening reading them. They reminded me how life has changed yet stayed the same. Back then, people worked the land with simple tools and relied on the seasons to guide them. Today, we have machines and technology, but the heart of farming remains unchanged, a deep connection to the earth and the cycles of nature. The next day, I showed the letters to Mrs. Thompson, an elderly woman who lives in the village. She knows more about the history of the area than anyone else. "Ah, yes," she said, smiling. "These must have belonged to Thomas Harper. He owned this land many years ago. His wife moved away during the war, and he never stopped hoping she'd return." Her words touched me deeply. I decided to preserve the letters and share their story with others. It felt important to honor Thomas's memory and the love he held on to, even in difficult times. Another memorable moment came a few weeks later when a group of city children visited the farm as part of a school trip. They arrived wearing clean clothes and shiny shoes, looking both excited and unsure. "What do farmers actually do?" one boy asked, wrinkling his nose at the smell of hay. "Well," I said with a grin, "we grow food, take care of animals, and make sure everyone has what they need to eat." To show them, I led them to the barn, where the cows were resting. "This is Daisy," I introduced, patting one of the cows gently. "She gives us milk every day." The kids giggled nervously at first, but soon they were laughing and asking questions. One girl bravely reached out to touch Daisy's nose, her eyes wide with wonder. "She's so soft," she exclaimed. Later, we went to the vegetable garden, where I taught them how to pick carrots and tomatoes. Some of them hesitated, afraid of getting dirty, but once they saw how fun it was, they couldn't stop. By the end of the visit, their hands were covered in mud, and their faces were beaming with pride. Moments like these remind me why farming is so important. It's not just about growing crops or raising animals, it's about connecting people to the source of their food and teaching them to appreciate the effort that goes into it. Those children left the farm with a newfound respect for farmers, and that makes all the hard work worthwhile. Of course, farming isn't without its challenges. There are days when the weather doesn't cooperate, too much rain floods the fields, while too little dries up the crops. Sometimes, pests attack the plants, or machinery breaks down at the worst possible moment. But through it all, I've learned to adapt and persevere. The land teaches you patience and resilience, qualities that stay with you long after the day's work is done. At the end of each day, I sit on the porch, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. Max lies at my feet, and the animals settle down for the night. In those quiet moments, I reflect on the beauty of the life I've built here. Farming is more than a profession, it's a way of living in harmony with nature and contributing to the world in a meaningful way. Now, as I look out over the fields, I think about the generations who came before me and those who will come after. The land holds stories, memories, and hopes for the future. And as long as I'm here, I'll do everything I can to protect it and pass it on to the next generation. Being a farmer may not seem glamorous to some, but to me, it's the most fulfilling job in the world. Because every seed I plant, every animal I care for, and every meal that comes from my labor reminds me that I'm part of something bigger, a cycle of life that connects us all.